Alright guys, welcome back to our golf and travel insights video, and today we're going to be focusing on just golf. So the last video we focused on the arm positions at the backswing, and so I've still been thinking about that, and I wanted to share a little bit more of the movement of the backswing and leading into a nice smooth follow through. So the insights today are going to focus on the initial movements of the backswing and how to make a seamless transition into the follow through. Okay, so let's jump into it. All right, so just before we get started, one thing that I like to think about on the backswing is that we want to make sure that we keep our point of connection to the club very stable. So it's very similar to the pendulum motion that you want to feel in putting, right? So I'm not bending my elbows or anything. I'm not introducing any wrist movement right now. I'm just rocking back and forth. And then so this is the type of feeling, that I want in my takeaway, right? So when I set up to the ball, or just practicing, whenever I set up, I want to feel like the first movement is my club moving away from my body, right? So I'm here, and what I want to do is keep my arms as extended as possible, move them as far away from my body as possible, right? And then from here, what I wanted you to focus on or think of to make the downswing a little bit easier, like that transition a little bit easier, because I notice like a lot of people start with their upper body, like they want to put everything into the shot, like they want to kill it, right? But they're using all of their upper body force. And truthfully, you're not going to get a lot of distance from using the energy from your upper body. Like it has to come from your turn. You have to use and I know we say, use your hips, it comes from the hips and those things, but it's not just the hips, it's the interaction with the ground, right? So you're building up resistance, like this is torque. When you hear people talk about torque, it's that buildup of energy in your core and with your feet against the ground, right? And so when you get to the top, after you've kept your hands in one motion and brought your club all the way to the top, now what you want to feel like is that you're making the follow through easy for you, right? And what you want to do is think about your hip rotation, and you have to actually use the ground to help you turn. So the more that you could be in tune with what's happening in your feet, the better your transition into the follow through can be, right? So when you get to the top, like here, you want to, and I should say too that there are people who think of the left hip, so the lead hip or the trail hip. Either one is fine. I like to mention to students that they should think about sending the left hip backwards, right? Opening up ourselves to the target. So on the backswing, you want to open up. You're opening up your hips on the backswing, and then on the way through as well, right? So open at the back, all the way through on the follow through. So the hips are going to open up, right? So you decide which one you want to use as your mental cue, because if you think of turning the right hip, it will naturally send the left hip into its correct position. If you think of just using the left hip, the right hip will naturally turn as well. So I'll leave that one up to you. That's just like food for thought. But then on the follow through, you want to really just use the ground to help you turn, and there needs to be some explosive motion in there as well, right? That's where you have to unleash all of that power that you just built up in the backswing. And so that's where that spring motion comes in. And I know there are some teachers who use like the baseball analogy. I'm not a baseball player by any means, but I used to watch baseball, so I know that this is like a similar movement of a pitcher, right? So like they have that spring action with their lead leg, their left leg, to release, right? And then another really good analogy in my mind is basketball. When you get to the top of the key or wherever you're shooting from, but you need some sort of like bounce, right? So you have to like jump and get yourself up in the air to execute really great shots. It's the same in golf. You want to jump on that left side, and a really interesting thing that, you know, can really help with the follow through is just understanding that if you keep your weight on your left side, because I know some people can, you know, they want to keep their weight on the right side on their backswing. I like to keep my weight on the left. It just works for me. So I like to keep my weight on my left side, and then on my follow through, I know that it's a push up and turn. So that's like my explosive move, right? I'm here, all of my weight is on my lead side. When I get to the top of my backswing here, and then on the follow through, I'm pushing up, and that was exaggerated, but we're here, top, thinking of the hips rotating, using my feet to help me get that rotation, boom, and explode. So I'm extending my left side, and what that does, once I start to extend my left side, it's naturally sending my shoulders down. So look at my right shoulder right now. When I get to the top, here, weight on the left, and transition into that follow through, it naturally is going to drop my right shoulder down, keep my head behind the ball, and allow me to execute a really good shot. And then so just one more tip about rotating, because I know we just talked about exploding and extension of the left side. Even though you're pushing up on that left side, you still want to keep turning, right? So you don't want to get stuck here either, because that can happen to you if you don't rotate. So I just hit like behind where I set up naturally. So if my ball was here and I started my swing, but I didn't have any rotation, I would hit behind the ball. So that's why turning is so important, because you need to keep the forward momentum to execute really great shots. So that was the insight. I hope it was helpful. So we were talking about the initial movements of the backswing, you know, little things that you could start to think about, and then using that to help you transition into a seamless follow through. Okay, see you next time.